the Kentucky Derby.
Move around the turn. The leader, War Admiral, 2.5 for clear.
Next brigade is in the center of the racetrack. The Admiral sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem is pulling away. He's got another gear.
Yeah, the sprint they come in the Derby. Wheel away takes command.
Lion Hart is all Hart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle's low of 1976.
Have you had your morning coffee? Is this show your alarm? Don't hit snooze. It's time for day 2 of the Kentucky Derby morning workout show presented by Twin Spires. Another beautiful morning here under the Twin Spires. And we've got a lot to talk about over the course of the next hour. Take a look at the headlines. Brad Cox's trio of sharp workers, the penultimate drills for the Kentucky Derby. We'll talk about those in great detail. Stark contrast, he breezed yesterday. A Derby decision for him is pending from trainer Mike McCarthy. Out-of-town Derby workers, so happy. Golden Tempo, we'll have some video on both of those. The 1-2 finishers of the Wood Memorial in action this morning. And opening day at Churchill Downs is just 1 week from today. Joe Christovec and Tony Kalo welcoming you in. And Tony, I mentioned opening day 1 week from today. The draw will be on Monday. And speaking of draws, the draw for the Oaks and the Kentucky Derby will be on opening day, I believe between races 3 and 4. We continue to march forward towards that first Saturday in May.
Yeah, post position, very important for the Kentucky Derby. 20 horses, certain horses want inside trips, certain horses want outside trips. That's very, very pivotal in determining where we go.
The gang's all here, everybody. We've got Churchill Downs representatives spread across the racetrack, front side, back side, and everywhere in between. We're going to start with the man that is always trusting his luck, and Kevin Kilroy, we're trusting your eyes from the best spot right there on the finish line. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, everybody out there. Beautiful morning here so far. Cloudy. Storms coming in later on today. I'd say high 60s. We've got a fast main track for this morning's Derby Oaks special training period. You know, we saw a ton of works across the country yesterday in preparation for the Derby and Oaks. What impressed me most, obviously, all 3 of the Cox horses, we'll talk about them. They did exactly what you want to see them to do, but full effort continues to move up in my estimation. He really put in a sharp drill, firing the bullet yesterday. And then in Keeneland, we saw Golden Tempo run second fastest to his highly regarded stablemate, Englishman, going 4 furlongs for that official time there. But just showed me his gamemanship, showed me his ability to maintain a high cruising speed throughout. So full effort, Golden Tempo really were sharp in my mind. And we've got Caitlin Benson on the backside with her boots on the ground. Caitlin, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. Pleased to be joining you guys once again here on the backside this morning over by the chute here in the Lucas Gap. You mentioned some of those workouts we had yesterday. Also going to be viewing for the first time on the screen the workout from Stark Contrast yesterday, who's a little bit more likely for the American Turf, as well as Paradise. Also for the Brad Cox barn, she worked a little bit after our show concluded. Wonder Dean, we're expected to see him on the track here this morning, and he was not out yesterday. He had a 2-minute lick a couple of days ago, was just kind of walking the shed row, but he's going to be back in schooling in the gate coming up here during the designated training hours. And we mentioned quite a few jockeys and trainers that are going to be in their first Kentucky Derby. But what about Caleb Hayes, our new starter here at Churchill Downs? It's been the first time in nearly 20 years that we've had a new head starter for the Kentucky Derby. So there's going to be a new name pushing the button here this year. Ren Crothers also back here on the backside with me. Ren, where are you at this morning?
Well, I am outside the barn of Kenny McPeak, who knows how to win the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks. He did it in the same year, 2024. This year, he's got right to party. But I also want to mention, I mean, there's been a ton of activity back here already. Saw Blackout Time go trackside with Robbie Alvarado aboard. He's actually going to be contesting the American Turf. Very excited to see that because I've been waiting for that horse to get on grass. But as far as right to party, he will be working once the track opens after they harrow it. He's going to be working in company with Very Connected. Very Connected is graded stakes place. He was third in the street sense here. And Right to Party is going to be working to his outside. They'll be going 5 furlongs. And Right to Party, the cool thing about this horse is that he's coming off that runner-up finish in the Wood Memorial, getting to go 2 turns for the first time. So again, we'll see if there's going to be reason to party for Kenny McPeek come that first Saturday in May. Joe and Tony.
So much history. Kentucky Derby 152. We keep building seats, but the history is maintained. Kentucky Derby points leaderboard, Tony, and no changes from yesterday to today. The horses that are kind of the ones we got to keep an eye on. Caitlin mentioned stark contrast. He could go in the American turf. That's where he is more likely as we turn to the second page here. The others, a couple of Chad Brown trainees. Iron Honor is one we're going to take a look at potentially going elsewhere, and Otinho as well. That would open the door for number 21, maybe some of the others on the outside looking in. Chief Wallaby, Chip Honcho, who we're going to see later.
Yeah, Chief Wallaby and Chip Honcho both hoping for defection so they can get into the body of the field.
All right, that's a look at the Kentucky Derby points leaderboard. We're now going to send it down to Caitlin, standing by with Caleb, not Williams, but he is the quarterback of the gate crew here at Churchill Downs.
Yes, he is, Joe. I am pleased to be joined by a special guest here this morning. It is Caleb Hayes, our head starter here at Churchill Downs. Going to be his first Kentucky Derby. And obviously, we're all familiar with you and your brother, John. But for those who are just meeting you for the first time this morning, just talk to us a little bit about the familial connection you guys have to the sport.
We grew up in the horse racing business. Our father was a trainer. I started on the gates when I was 17, and I begged John to do it because I was loving the job. So this Derby here is going to be my 18th Derby, and it's going to be my first as a starter, and I'm just very excited for it.
Yeah, you've been around for quite some time here. You were the interim starter here last season, not for the Derby, but you also did a number of the Kentucky tracks in that job as well. But this is a different ballgame, a 20-horse starting gate. How are you feeling about all of it?
I'm ready. We've got a great team here. I brought in some new guys that I'm very comfortable with, and I can't wait to see them work this year. And I think they're all excited, and they're going to give me their best effort come Derby week.
So it's been a couple years now that we've had this new starting gate. Just talk to us a little bit about it and some of those kind of hiccups and snafus we've had in recent years with the kind of broken starting gate, how some of that has dissipated with the complete gate.
Well, with Mendelssohn was the year that they started to change because from the 14th stall to the 15th stall there was a big gap, and it was causing a bump about the third or fourth stride, and that's what we're trying to eliminate with all of them being connected. So I think it's helped with the bumping. It's a very important race, and everybody's nerves are there, so there's going to be bumping, but we try to eliminate the best we can, and it's for the safety of the horse and give everybody a fair shot.
A little bit better there on the rail too, right?
Quite a bit. The gates, they don't take up as much room, so there's quite a bit more room on the inside rail, and then, like I said, it's going to eliminate the 14 and 15 stalls from colliding.
We're going to have Wonder Dean schooling over in the starting gate here a little bit later on. It's just behind us there in the chute. It's not required, but most Kentucky Derby starters are going to school in this gate, correct? Yeah,
it's a different feel. We use a United Pewitt gate. This is a Starling gate. It's a different feel. The horses, I'm sure, are going to take to it fine. My guys take to it fine. Jocks are fine. But anything different, and then coming on this big day, it's nice to make sure everything's been looked at.
Smaller stalls for this gate?
I don't think so. I've been in it for a couple years. I think it was the 2020 Derby we used it. I don't think there's a big difference in it, but any small change in horse racing, we have to make sure we handle it as best we can.
We got one fan question for you that came in. What match are you most excited for WrestleMania?
All right, Kevin. I got CM Punk. Yeah, I'll go with Roman Reigns and CM Punk. That's the one I'm excited for.
Well, you heard it here first. Caleb Hayes, our head starter here at Churchill Downs. We're going to be seeing horses schooling in the starting gate coming up in a little while. Back to you guys.
All right, good stuff. As you can see, the main track manicured here at Churchill Downs. The designated training time, 7:15 to 7:30 Eastern for the Oaks and Derby horses. And a huge work yesterday for Commandment and the other two Derby horses trained by Brad Cox. The resume, Tony, speaks for itself, but when we look at this workout, he does not lay down the law to direct strike the horse to his inside, but not to be unexpected by his trainer.
Yeah, he's not the flashiest of workhorses. That's why he's probably working with company. the way he won the Fountain of Youth and the way he won the Florida Derby is exactly like this. He's just going to relentlessly come at you. He's a powerful individual. I think he's got the best body in this field as far as just the way he's built, his chest and his hind quarters. Journalism and sovereignty were standouts last year. I think Commandment is the man amongst the boys this year.
Now, Kevin, Direct Strike is 0 for 3 lifetime, but he's a good morning workhorse. He's got some talent. What do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good matchup. I think Tony's speaking to it. It's just he needs a workmate to get into it. I think if Charles Barkley, and Allen Iverson, if Charles Barkley and Allen Iverson had a baby, it would be Commandment. He likes to eat, sleep, and he doesn't like to practice. So he needs somebody to move him forward, and this is what he's getting here. Listen to some interviews that Andrew Brown put out for Wathlin Racing, talking with Jonathan Santiago, the exercise rider. He told Brad Cox after that there was more here. He could have gone by him. He could have done more with him, and that he's just thriving in Kentucky. So this is a fantastic work, very sharp time, but the track has been playing very fast, so you got to keep that in mind.
Charles Barkley, AI, if you're listening, we'll have to talk about that matchup a little bit later on, that pairing that Kevin Kilroy is talking about. Take a look at Further Ado, and he's dominated at Keeneland. He has a stakes win here at Churchill in the Kentucky Jockey Club. And Tony, as we take a look at this workout, much different than we saw with Commandment. It's not in company, it's solo, and B, man, it is super flashy.
It's very flashy, especially in the gallop out, the concluding stages. He's a much better workhorse than Commandment, therefore he doesn't need a workmate. Imagine if he is grouped up with another horse. He might have worked 47 flat because he does this all by himself and he just extends his stride beautifully in the gallop out. A very impressive move after his authoritative victory in the Bluegrass.
Yeah, he just does everything right in this work, Kevin. He's going fast, but he's under control. And again, we'll take a look at the gallop out here in a moment, but that was maybe the most impressive part of this work.
Yeah, this is what you want to see. We're seeing him solo, and this is typically how we always see him, whether it's at Saratoga, at Payson, Keeneland, here at Churchill. This is how they get him going in the AM. And 23rd best time, not as sharp as the others, but he just does so much. Not only in this official 4 furlong drill, but in the gallop out. His energy is still there, absolutely. You got to be, if you're looking at bouncing, regressing after that big effort like he did as a 2-year-old, I don't think that's going to be the case in the Kentucky Derby. So a major player, he's going to take a ton of money, and he deserves it after this work.
And just a little nudge there in the gallop out, Tony, and he really responds.
Yeah, he responded beautifully. This is a very, very good move from Further Ado.
Move over to the horse that is the biggest wild card of the 3 aces that Brad Cox has. It's Full Effort. Has never run in a pari-mutuel horse race on dirt, but you wouldn't know it by the way this horse trains in the morning, Tony.
He's bred top and bottom for the dirt. Liam's Map out of an Awesome Again Mary has a sibling, Power Squeeze, who was a very good dirt runner. His works have been gradually getting better over the Churchill Downs dirt racetrack. He's one that I probably would move up tremendously if it happened to rain on the first Saturday in May, being synthetic and turfer.
Now, Kevin, we saw earlier Commandment work with Direct Strike. He's 0 for 3. Full Effort works with Chasen, a very talented filly, 3 for 6, coming off a stakes win at Colonial in the Sandy Bottom. She puts in a very nice work in her own right, making this even that much more impressive.
Yeah, she's come back really nicely as a 4-year-old. She's a sharp morning worker, and they get the shared bullet here for this time. We're getting to know Full Effort on the main track. We're getting to know this horse, and there's obviously the questions about surface. But what I'm seeing from this guy is that he is just 100% racehorse. He loves to race. He loves to run. He has that competitive spirit. Turf, dirt, scent, put him on the black top. He is going to run. So that's what we're seeing from him. Very sharp time. This moves him up big time. I think he's coming into a huge race for the first Saturday in May.
So we've heard what Kevin, Tony, and I have to say about these workouts. More importantly, what does Brad think?
He was in company with a horse named Direct Strike. Very good breeze for him. He's pretty Average workhorse, to say the least. He doesn't really work fast. I felt like we got enough out of that move. It's a good gallop out, stayed on well. Luis Saez breezed him first time he'd been on him. He was very pleased with him, said he's very steady, didn't get tired, galloped out great, so it was a very positive move. He could be a Kentucky Derby winner, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the winner, not the favorite. I've always say there's 19 Derby horses and there's one Derby winner. I'm looking for the Derby winner. I mean, obviously you got to be one of the 20 to have a chance. But look, now he's a good colt. Not certain about if he should be favored, but I think he's definitely capable of winning the race. Further ado, broke off at the half. Really good breeze, I thought. Well in hand. 48-2 is what I had. Out, I think 12-4, 127 on my watch. Just full of energy, galloped out great, very positive move. Probably won't look to do much more next week with him just because we're running back in 4 weeks off the big run in the Bluegrass. We went into the Bluegrass with a tremendous amount of confidence. And, once again, when you win a race by 11 lengths, you start thinking, well, how much is left, right? But I think anybody that watched the work this morning would have say, look, he's in good order and there could be more left. Full effort. Really good breeze. Breeze with chasing a good Juddmonte filly that was a stake winner last month. She's a half to idiomatic, and I mean he's impressed us here. His first 2 works since the Ruby were just to let him get comfortable here with the track and just maintenance works. But today we wanted him to stretch his legs and do something. He responded really well. I had him 59 flat, out 11-3. Probably wasn't looking to go that quick. I think the track's a little on the quick side, but overall, all 3 were traveling well. They all galloped out well, and I think we got plenty out of what we were looking to accomplish this morning, and we're in a good spot.
Even though Full Effort doesn't have a race on the dirt, he's got some dirt influences in the pedigree. Yesterday, Ren did a deep dive on Commandment. What about Further Ado, Ren?
Well, Further Ado, what can I say about that Bluegrass Stakes? That was so impressive. Let's talk about that just for a minute, because that was an 11 lengths romp. And it's very reminiscent of Gunrunner in that this horse, once he gets into that nice rhythm, his cruising speed is just devastating. The one vulnerability I might see is that he did switch leads there at the end of the race, but sometimes that's just the horse being playful and not being tired. Now, as far as that pedigree goes, again, by Gunrunner, Hall of Famer, won the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's by a Pacific Classic winner in Candy Ride. And then on the bottom side with this horse, the Mom by Sky Mesa, there's some stakes winners in there, but what I want to focus on is that second dam, because she is a daughter of Monarchos, who won the 2001 Kentucky Derby, and then her own mother, that would be the third dam. She is Beautiful Pleasure, who won the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So we have a lot of real grade 1 class in the pedigree, guys, and we'll see if Further Ado can go further come that first Saturday in May.
All of the horses in the Kentucky Derby starting at have to answer that question. Some have gone 1 3/16. Nobody's gone 1 1/4. Renegade's gone 9 furlongs in the Arkansas Derby at Oaklawn, and he could not have done it any more impressively, Tony Kalo, and he checks every box, especially that pedigree box.
Yeah, that's not going to be a problem. Into mischief out of a Curlin mare. What a turn of foot he displayed in the Arkansas Derby. I thought it was the most visually impressive prep leading up to this year's Kentucky Derby. Here he is with his first work since that big victory. He's on the inside. Now, this is a horse who likes to relax early and finish full of runs, so he's somewhat at a disadvantage, but I think this is to maybe get him really sharp, maybe put a little more speed in him so he can be maybe just a tad closer. This year's flow in the Kentucky Derby isn't expected to be that hot and heavy up front.
Kevin, there are horses that are going to move up on your overall list based on the way they train versus their past performances. The past performances don't get much better for Renegade. He's near the top of nearly everybody's list. Does he stay there off of this?
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. He does. As Tony mentioned, we haven't seen him in the AM since the Arkansas Derby. Pletcher said the fitness is there, and this just is the evidence of that. He gets pushed by power shift, another Mike Rapolione, nice colt, and he just responds so well. I like the fact that he's inside. We'll see this again with Golden Tempo, just increasing the fitness that he's going to get out of this work, increasing that sort of competitive mindset that he wants to have coming into the Kentucky Derby, and he just continues to lay it down here in the gallop out as he surges away for a little bit. Power shift, a good one. We'll probably see him soon, and this is a big move from Renegade.
From Renegade in South Florida, where he will work, I believe it's this coming Friday before shipping to Churchill, to Keeneland and Golden Tempo. Now, Golden Tempo has the 2 wins. He hit the board in the Risen Star and also in the Louisiana Derby. And talk about full efforts workout being impressive, Tony. This one is right up there with it.
Did I hear Kevin mention that's Englishman to the outside?
I mean,
No, it was, second fastest to Englishman. That's not to worry on the outside.
Okay, all right, cool. I'm glad we got that cleared away. Yeah, no, this is a great move. I like this horse. I think he's got, of those horses that could be 20, 25 to 1, he's one of my favorites. I thought Fairgrounds, you guys have a lot more on that than I do, was more speed favoring, and he's been closing into those flows. I like him, and this is a great move from him.
Kevin, it's not Englishman on the outside. It's not to worry, but he clocked 109.57 in a debut win at Fairgrounds, so no slouch, and Golden Tempo leaves him in his dust.
No, he was very highly regarded ahead of his debut, not to worry. So this is good company. And, the question for the Golden Tempo is his competitiveness, whether he's really got that true racehorse sort of mentality. He's got the talent, but I think this really shows us that he's building stronger and stronger moves in the morning, and he's showing us his competition. So this is a big move with Jose Ortiz up.
Bouncing around all across the country, from South Florida to Lexington to Southern California, and So Happy by Run Happy. And those horses in California, Tony, have kind of been trading victories. He's got the most recent one, and maybe the most impressive, in the Santa Anita Derby.
Yeah, he put it all together in the Santa Anita Derby, turning the tables on Patente, who defeated him in the San Felipe. Run Happy is his sire, so there are some question marks about getting a 1.25 miles, but he has Blame Blood on the bottom. And Mark Glatt, I've known Mark Glatt for years, back in the days in Northern California. What a great story it would be if So Happy could bring him the roses on the first Saturday in May.
So Happy. He's not supposed to get 1.25 miles, Kevin, but you wouldn't know it by the way he races and maybe even the way he works, although Mark Glatt said he's not the greatest of workhorses.
Yeah, he's going with Watsonville to his inside, who is a sharp horse, a turf horse that's giving him company. And this is a solid move. We haven't seen him since the Santa Anita Derby. That was his second time going long. He really looks fantastic in that effort. So you got to think that third time going long after a good move here, it was a move forward in terms of his figures, that he's an outside contender in a big way. I thought this move was solid. It was nothing flashy. It didn't adjust the fact that I think that he is an interesting racehorse in the Kentucky Derby, but probably the barn is quite happy about this move second before the Derby.
They're so happy, Kevin. Take a look at Albus.
Don't worry, be happy.
Don't worry, be happy, so happy. Take a look at earlier this morning, Albus. All aboard, everybody. He's working with Theoretical. Albus clocking 1:15.3 on the gallop out. Goes 49 for the official work, 1:02 1/5. And the horse that he beat in the Wood Memorial is a horse we're going to see a little bit later on live during the designated training time, and Right to Party. And Kevin, this horse certainly is progressive. This is a horse that has won 2 in a row as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, he broke his maiden, and then he got it done in the wood, and he did it with different running styles, so that's good to see. He's always been a horse that's been on my radar since seeing him as a 2-year-old, and just watching his physical development from 2 to 3, I just haven't seen him put on the weight and the muscle that you see from a lot of these other colts. Now, he's got the frame for it for sure. We're seeing in this move, you could see a strong hold to get him to relax early on in the move, and then he really just does respond and just roll through this work with a quite relaxed effort. I thought he sustained his move in the backside, in the gallop out, so training him to get more distance is what I'm seeing from this move, and it was a very nice effort by Theoretical. I'm not sure if we'll see the full gallop out, but he does show some extra distance there in his double gallop out.
Very quick, Tony. This is a horse that's coming into his own. We don't know what his ceiling is.
Yeah, that's for sure. He has good Bernardini blood on the bottom. There are question marks with Yapon blood on the top.
All right, there you see Albus, and the designated training time is about 6 minutes away. And there's Wonder Dean doing his thing. We didn't get to see him on the racetrack yesterday. He had a walk day. Caitlin Free is going to give us some insight on Wonder Dean a little bit later on in the show, but there he is doing his circles like so many of these Japanese horses do in their preparation for the Kentucky Derby. We're going to put the focus on the ladies, including a pair from the Brad Cox barn, when we return right after this.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights, like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. And now you can race to victory with Twin Spires tournaments.
Elegance is an attitude.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby morning workout show presented by Twin Spires. Just moments away from the designated training period here this morning. Expected to see Right to Party, the runner-up in the Wood Memorial, working live for us. And Tony, lot to digest from what happened yesterday across the country, and a little bit more this morning.
Yeah, we've got a lot more good stuff on the way. We don't have a lot of time to digest it. It comes at us very quickly.
Yeah.
It's good to get a little sleep and watch them again the next day like we did this morning.
No doubt about it. Some impressive works from the boys so far. We're going to take a look at the Kentucky Oaks leaderboard, meaning tops the leaderboard for Mike McCarthy, Percy's Bar, both coming in off recent wins. Bella Ballerina was beaten in her most recent start at Fairgrounds. You and I both like Counting Stars.
I've been a big fan of Counting Stars since her debut run. She had great workouts leading to the first start. She has thrown in a couple of clunkers in her 7-race career, but the other 5 races have been spectacular.
Brad Cox with a couple in this year's Kentucky Oaks potentially. He's won the Oaks 3 times, and this is a horse that just keeps getting better and better. Maybe one of the most visually impressive preps was the Gulfstream Park Oaks, a victory from her, and she had a breeze yesterday, Tony. There she is on the outside, again, the pink saddle towel.
Yeah, I thought she looked very good in this workout. 101 and 2 fifths. It's not about time all the time when we're looking at workouts. You want to get a visual gauge, and the visual gauge on Prom Queen was very good, a thumbs up. As you mentioned, she seems to be getting better and better. Second on debut and has rattled off 2 consecutive victories, one out of a maiden special weight race into a grade 2. Quality road out of a Tappet mare, so there should be no issues with the real estate getting longer for Prom Queen. I came away very impressed and moving her up in my rankings after this workout.
Second on debut, going a 1-turn mile at Gulfstream, followed up with a dominant maiden win, mile and a 16th, and then that Stock and Pound's victory in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Doesn't seem to me that this horse could come into this race any better than she is, Kevin.
I agree, Joe. I agree, Tony. She's in great form, and distance is not a problem. You can see it in this work. She doesn't really pull up until the 3/8 pull at the end. She's a little bit high-strung, so you can see that she looks around the track. She's always sort of taking things in, but in a way that's maybe she's a little scared, little nervous, a little skittish. But when she sets her run down, she really impresses me. So big, long legs, great body, in very good form. This drill was fantastic from Prom Queen.
Brad Cox has another potential Kentucky Oaks runner. Strength is not in New York with the boys. I don't think it's in New York for the girls either. This horse was a distant third in the Gazelle behind Always a Runner as the big favorite. Her name is Paradise, Kevin. Tony, sorry.
Yeah, I don't really know a lot about her. Like you mentioned, she was a distant third as the favorite in the Gazelle. She's going to have to step her game up. She was soundly defeated that race, but you know, 3-year-olds, whether they're colts, geldings, fillies, they can really turn the tables quickly on rivals that have defeated them. They get good, and they get good in a hurry.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Brad runs this horse in the Oaks, Kevin.
Field for her Derby prep, Oaks prep win, and she didn't flatter that effort next out there in the Gazelle. But this move, I'm not sure who her company is, but I thought she really put in a solid work here. So she moves up a touch. We'll see if we see her in the Oaks.
Brad Cox's team lost Life of Joy a couple of days ago. She was the winner of the Fairgrounds Oaks. She has a minor setback. We'll hope to see her a little bit later on in the year. What does Cox think of the 2 Oaks fillies that he does have?
We're not sure if she's going to run the Oaks or the 8 Bells. We obviously had the saddle towel on her because we haven't made a decision, but I thought it was a really good breeze. I had her in 49, out 101-1 on the inside of On Time Girl, but solid breeze. First work back since the Gazelle. I'm very happy with her this morning. We'll, have one more work with her next week, but I thought her breeze was really good. The gallop out was really good yesterday, and we're in a good spot. She's a filly that's improved a tremendous amount through the winter. We liked her as soon as she came in to Payson last fall. She acted like she's very talented, and I was excited about getting her out around 2 turns. Obviously, the Gulfstream Oaks, we expected a huge run from her, and she gave it to us. It's a lot to ask any 3-year-old, whether they're lightly raced or have a lot of experience to, line up and run in the Oaks with the crowd or the Derby with, so many people around and all the things that's going on. But she's a good filly and talented and should love the distance.
Lots of great content on the Kentucky Derby morning workout show, but the best is a live training session. That's coming up very shortly. There you see O'Selly. He's on the outside looking in, not only for the racetrack here this morning, but also the Kentucky Derby field. We'll be right back.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. And now you can race to victory with Twin Spires tournaments.
With over 200 flavor notes to discover, every sip of Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
I don't even know if I have PPs on. I know he's There you see O'Sally talked about the fact that this horse is on the outside looking in for Kentucky Derby at 152. And Tony, he's still a maiden, but he's knocked some heads with some of the top contenders in the Derby, and he's held his own to some extent.
Yeah, he definitely stepped his game up in the Wood Memorial with a fast closing third behind Albus and Right to Party. You see Renegade in his company lines and the Puma. I heard a lot of good things about him leading up to the Virginia Derby. I know the barn's been fond of him from the very beginning.
The barn is the barn of Whit Beckman, up-and-coming younger trainer who's burst on the scene here in the last few years, and he's been a factor on the road to both the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks the last couple of seasons. Again, the highlighter yellow for the Kentucky Derby, possible potentials, the horses that are at least either in the body of the field or on the outside looking in, and then the pink saddle towels, which just makes a lot of sense for those that are pointing towards the Kentucky Oaks. Right to Party, the horse that we're expected to work here during the designated training time for trainer Ken McPeak, as get a good look at O'Selly there, kind of mulling around, waiting to move on to the racetrack. Saw a little bit of Wonder Dean earlier, and if we've got Caitlin Free available, definitely want her to give us the synopsis and the lowdown on Wonder Dean, one of 3 foreign horses that are highly likely to run in this year's Derby. Caitlin?
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, he just passed by me a little while ago. Started out in the chute, kind of when we were coming on air, and he was over there by the starting gate. He was actually the first horse to school in the starting gate. They just put it over there as of yesterday morning, so it's available for those who do want to school. But Wonder Dean, the first of 3 international horses on the ground today, first of 2 Japanese horses. I spoke to Kate Hunter just a little while ago and caught up with her. Dan and Bourbon, I believe, is scheduled to arrive on April 24th, and Wonder Dean going to have a little bit more of a serious piece of work in the in portion of next week. I believe this is going to be a timed move, so definitely looking forward to that. But he's got really nice depth in his pedigree, and he really is a horse that stepped it up when he got to the 2 turns in the UAE Derby. He ran in the Saudi Derby, but that's a 1-turn affair, so he's the added extra ground the better for Wonder Dean. He's by a runner that won the first leg of the Japanese Triple Crown, the 2,000 guineas. That's the shorter distance of the 3 races. It actually runs this weekend. D Majesty is his name. He won it several years back. The dam side definitely has a lot of stamina, but we're going to go ahead and send it over to a couple other horses here. But Wonder Dean, he's certainly an exciting prospect for Japan.
All right, moving on. Thanks, Caitlin. More on Wonder Dean a little bit later on, but for now, you got to fight
for your right
to
party.
There he is.
You're just jealous. It's the Beastie Boys.
We could get Tony going over here. Right to party. I mean, Kenny McPeak Winters at Fairgrounds. I'm surprised he didn't run the horse there, given the name. But, he got his way into the Kentucky Derby by running second in the Wood Memorial. Got those 50 points that particular day. Kenny won the Derby in the Oaks a couple of years ago. It's well documented. This horse is going to be a huge long shot, Tony, but Kenny is not afraid to participate.
No, that's for sure. Kenny likes to have a fight in the battle, and you have to be in the race in order to have a chance to win it. Obviously, Rich Strike is the one. Mind That Bird, a couple of big long shots. What were they? Similar to Right to Party, they were both closers, deep closers. So this one is hoping that there will be a lot of flow early, and it's not anticipated the pace is going to be hot and heavy in the Derby this year, but you never know. Once those gates open, 20 horses, they're stampeding for that first turn. And Right to Party, a horse who, as Ren mentioned, first time going 2 turns, runs one of his better races.
Yeah, to be supplemented for $6,000 in order to make it into the Kentucky Derby field. The owner, Charles Broman, 90 years old. He's been involved in this game for quite some time. And Kevin, we got to see a gallop from this horse yesterday. We get to see a work from him today. What are you going to need to see to take this horse seriously?
I'm going to need to see just a fluid, open stride and a big reach. I've just been watching him, and I've just been wondering about his mechanics and how he's moving across the track. Seems a little tight from what I'm seeing, my eye. So I want to just see a big athletic move from him, just to know that he's loose and that he's feeling himself.
Chester Broman, not Charles. Chester Broman is the owner. He ran Friends Lake in the Derby. His last Derby started way back in 2004, ran 15th. This is another horse I believe we're going to see work today. Chip Honcho on the outside looking in, Tony. He's been through the Fairgrounds series of races. Reminds me a lot of Track Phantom. He's forward, but obviously has distant questions based on not only the pedigree, but the way he has run for Mr. Steve. Wouldn't be surprised to see him reroute to a race like the Preakness, but you mentioned the lack of speed in the Derby, so it is enticing to maybe consider running.
Yeah, if he draws in and he draws favorably from an outside post, maybe he can revert back to when the tactics that had him successful in the Gun Runner. 6 Speed is probably the horse that most of us are anticipating being on the lead in the Derby, the Japanese horse. Chip Honcho maybe gets a nice tracking trip. He ran exceptionally well in the Risen Star. Unfortunately, he regressed in the Louisiana Derby, so he comes into this race with some question marks.
Yeah, didn't make the lead in the Louisiana Derby, seemed to get a little bit discouraged, faded to 5th behind Emerging Market. The Dam, Miss My Rose, is a stakes-placed sprinter. There's a lot of sprint in the family. The lone sibling is more of a turf miler. Kevin, you got to see this horse race, I'm guessing train as well, all winter at the Fairgrounds. Your thoughts?
Yeah, guys, just watching Oselli begin his move, but Chip Honcho, distance seemed like it was maybe the question in that Louisiana Derby. I didn't think it was a question beforehand. He's a big guy, so maybe he just needs to have things go his own way. He might just be that one-dimensional type that has to go forward. If so, he would be very interested given the pace in the Kentucky Derby.
Now, Kevin, 2 expected workers, Right to Party and Chip Honcho. Can you kind of explain the preparation leading into the work once the horse gets on the racetrack with what we're seeing visually as they get set to break off and make that move?
Yeah, it's just all about relaxing, whether you just go to your spot along the front side rail and take everything in, whether you're with a pony, finding the rhythm with your workmate, sort of building up a little bit before you break off from the pole. So it's just about just finding that comfortable, relaxed sort of stride before you start your serious work.
Not sure who the workmate is on the inside, but it's interesting. Chip Honcho on the outside. I'm not going to say using this horse as a target, but again, putting him in a position to, maybe do his thing later in the work. He's not working solo, he's working in company. Don't know who the workmate is, we'll find out a little bit later on, but what are you seeing so far, Tony?
Well, you're mentioning him being on the outside. I like that. You go back to the gun runner where he's sitting second, getting a nice trip on the outside, probably flanking, stalking a rival. That's the kind of tactics they want to get this one accustomed to. Kevin mentioned something about maybe that if he's not on the lead by himself, maybe things don't go his way. This workout will try to teach him what they want him to do, and I think that's the way he has a chance to be at his best.
He was on the lead in the Risen Star, Kevin. He got run down by Palin, and Palin was one of the top Kentucky Derby contenders going into and out of that race. He's going to miss the Derby with a minor setback, but that was the best race that Chip Honcho has run, was when he was on the lead.
Yeah, and when I talked to Luis Saez when he got off of him after that race, he was very excited, not only about riding him in the Louisiana Derby, but the fact that he could get more distance. So there's a little bit of mixed message I'm trying to figure out with Chip Honcho in terms of getting a mile and a quarter. He really did seem to fall flat late in the Louisiana Derby. He could have just bounced as well. It was a top effort there in the Risen Star. So often we do see a little aggression after a big top.
Talking about a guy that's in the 11,000 win range. To me, this seems like the perfect horse for the Preakness. That racetrack can be a little bit more forward. You're going to get horses that are tired coming out of the Derby. You're going to get some other new shooters, but man, this seems like a Preakness horse to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, Joe.
All right, there you see.
I would have liked to have seen him push by this workmate. Being on the outside, he had everything go his way in this work, and I would have liked to seen him finish with just a little bit more enthusiasm, putting that rival away, especially through the gallop out.
So Chip Honcho did go with Corporate Power. That was the horse on the inside. Moments ago, Right to Party went 5/8 with Very Connected. Let's take a look at this move. Very Connected is a workhorse to the inside. And Kevin, we're going to let you talk us through it. Again, this was moments ago, so you may have already seen it.
Yeah, they're both going at the same time, so I was kind of going back and forth with the binocs, trying to watch both of them. Yeah, Very Connected. He's a late runner, that's for sure. He's always game. You can see that he's got a tight hold on the inside horse, just making sure they don't go too fast early. Always something that you want to keep in mind is not the final time, but did they go fast early? Did they go fast down the lane? Did they go fastest in the gallop out? That sort of thing. So Very Connected gets to the front here, Right to Party, positioned to his outside. I thought, he showed a decent effort. What I saw from him wasn't anything that really moves him up in my mind, Joe, like I was speaking about before.
Yeah, I mean, the Derby, 20 horses, they earn their way in. He's earned his way in. Trainers, Tony, have to plot their course to get to the Derby, and which preps are you going to run in? What is the timing? What is the horse telling you that they want to do and when they want to do it?
And the other factor is these owners, trainers, they put their money into this game, and you get an opportunity to run in the Derby. And although we as handicappers might not think this horse has much of a chance, it's hard to tell the owners don't run on the first Saturday in May. So he's coming into this race probably as good as he's been at any point of his career. The first time he gets to go long, he runs a bang-up effort, and this is a good work with his mate here. He's staying with him, and he has good enthusiasm throughout.
Chester Broman, Sr., the owner, very prominent figure in New York racing.
Yes, definitely.
You got Stuart Elliott, the father of Chris Elliott. He won the Derby way back in 2004 with the very memorable Smarty Jones. Christopher Elliott's going to be the rider here in the Kentucky Derby at the age of 19.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, no doubt. And one of the great storylines of many.
Ronnie Franklin back in the day aboard Spectacular Bid. He was a youngster.
Kentucky Derby 152, and some guy named Steve Cawthon, I believe.
The kid.
As well. There's
the Wonder Boy.
Chief Wallaby, he's galloping on the racetrack, just, doing his thing out there, just getting a leg stretcher. These horses need to get out of the stalls. Kevin, you have those major works, 7 to 10 days between one another. These horses still get on the racetrack and stretch their legs, and, looks like he's moving very fluidly this morning, which is what you like to see.
Yeah, you want to get used to the track. That's what we've been seeing him do, is just slowly sort of build a little bit more run in his morning gallops. As he gets comfortable, he takes in and feels out the track. Bill Mott was talking about the fact that he's seen over the years that getting his horse here to Churchill Downs early, getting them practice opportunities over the track, helps them to get the distance. And that's what we're seeing Chief Wallaby here. Sovereignty came early last year. He's also throwing the blinkers on Chief Wallaby. We see him without the blinkers here just in his gallop out, which is interesting. I mean, we saw him do that with Rocket Can, maybe for different reasons, but maybe still a little greenness with Chief Wallaby that the blinkers can help sort out. He's a big guy. He's imposing. I think he's enjoying this track just fine.
2 narrow misses, Tony, to Commandment in back-to-back races, the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby. If the blinkers do give him a little something extra, then this could get this horse over the top.
It really could. He's, inexperienced in comparison to Commandment. Commandment has a couple more races, so Chief Wallaby has every right to turn the tables on him. I thought his maiden victory was very good, and both of his prep races have been rock solid. He's the horse that we all want to see draw in.
More information on Wonder Dean with Caitlin Benson down trackside, and this is live, Caitlin.
Yes, he was just schooling in the starting gate, went back there, and they kind of opened the back a couple of different times. But this is a horse that I think with the starting gate being so big and maybe the stalls being slightly more compact, I know they have maybe a little extra padding in them than some of the other traditional gates. He's a horse that's on the smaller side. He may actually be one of the smaller, if not the smallest horses body-wise in the Derby. So he looked very comfortable in the gate, didn't see him move a muscle. So I think that all went according to plan for the connections. And one thing that I do want to mention about the connections, both jockey and trainer of Wonder Dean have been here before. Trainer Daisuke Takayagi has been here with Tio Password, who is 5th back in 2024, and his jockey Ryushi Sakawi was aboard Forever Young in the same year. So these are experienced connections as far as Derby, all things considered.
And the Japanese have just been doing so well across the globe, Tony. Won their 5th straight UAE Derby. Crown Pride, Derma Sotagake, Forever Young, Admire Daytona, and now this horse. This is a different year, though. There were some Japanese runners that were highly regarded that did not go to Dubai because of everything that was going on in the world at the time.
Yeah, I've heard that the 3 that we're going to see, they're maybe not the strongest of the Japanese contingency, and I don't believe any one of the 3 are Forever Young. Not many horses are.
Danny and Bourbon might be okay, though.
Okay.
I mean, we'll see more from him. He's, perfect 3 for 3. He's been visually impressive. I don't know these international horses.
Neither do I, especially the Japanese horses.
I rely on Kelly Riley. She says a notch below Forever Young, but still, how many horses are Forever Young?
Exactly. Well, Denon Bourbon is undefeated in 3 starts, so that's good in comparison looking at the form of Wonder Dean in 6-speed. He looks like the best of the trio.
Wonder Dean. So when he arrived, they had a hood on him that just kind of kept him relaxed, kept him, just a little bit more sort of subdued. And the first time I saw him on the track was the first time they had taken it off. So he was in the circles, buck jumping around and having high energy. It's good to see him so relaxed on the track today. I think this is a very good sign.
Kevin, let's pick up with that. What have you learned in the last few years watching these Japanese? They do things different. We're back here. What have you learned, Tony?
I'm still trying to learn. I'm definitely not the guy to ask any thing about Japanese horses, that's for sure. What I have learned is they go in circles in the chute. I haven't learned a lot, Joe.
No doubt about it. All right, got to look at past performances more than anything, and a lot of those videos are available on YouTube. All right, Let's go back to the fillies. Where are we going next here? We're going to take a look at meaning. Mike McCarthy, winner of the most recent prep in Southern California. She's on the outside here, Tony. And again, we talk about the depth more than anything of this year's Kentucky Oaks. I'm not sure Nick Tamara is going to make the favorite. Maybe it's Zany because she's gotten the most hype, but Meaning's certainly going to take a lot of action.
Yeah, Meaning's definitely coming into her own. She has won both of her starts as a 3-year-old. I actually gave her a big look in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. She was 12-1 that particular day. She ran 4th. Explorer, Percy's Bar finished in front of her. This is a good move. You can see the workmates kind of being nudged upon just a little bit. Meaning's exercise rider's hands haven't moved a bit. The workmate is a European bred who's 0-2 running in longer turf races, so it's no surprise that Meaning's getting the best of her in the concluding stages.
Yeah, it just looks like she wants to go. She's on the far outside here. If she was unleashed, Kevin, this would even be that much more impressive.
Yeah, she just continually gets clear of the workmate, and this is what we've seen from her multiple times in terms of Meaning. So she's big, athletic. I love her stride.
I agree.
Good company lines with Meaning and this gal Explorer. Now, she missed her most recent start at Oaklawn. She came up a little bit sick for Bob Baffert, but her races before that were sensational, Tony.
Yeah, she actually beat my top pick so far in the Oaks Counting Stars in the Honeybee. She's had a couple of nice workouts. This is a good move, 49 seconds. She worked out of the gate, I believe, prior to that, and that was, I believe, 112 and change recently. So Explorer definitely, some question marks. How do you handle it? She misses the biggest prep for the Kentucky Oaks. If you look at her form, you look at her career, you look at the way she's been supported in all of her races, she might offer more value on the first Friday in May than she ever has in her career.
And that's why seeing these works is important, Kevin.
Yeah, she's been one that I've loved since ahead of the Breeders' Cup. I thought she ran very well in there to run second. All the moves, and there's a ton of them up there you can watch. I think she's in great form, guys. They did take that fantasy off in terms of a minor illness, but she goes 7 furlongs in this one. She just continues to build energy and run. She's athletic. She's the one, and Florent Giroux up for the move there on Explorer.
Yeah, just a little nudge there on the gallop out.
And I'm glad Kevin mentioned it. This is a 7 furlong move, ladies and gentlemen. She went 125, typical Bob Baffert type of move, getting the 7/8 of a drill into these big races. She worked 112 and change out of the gate the week before.
Yeah, that answered a lot of questions for me. Battle of Rouge. Kevin, we're going to let you pick it up here because I know you're familiar with this filly. Yeah, she's based in Southern California, but her last couple of races have come at Sunland and Colonial, where you were there for the Virginia Oaks.
She's a hard trier. She's all heart, guys. She's an overachiever, I think. I thought she was very impressive winning that Virginia Oaks. She's been keeping the same company here in the mornings recently. I'm just trying to look up the name real quick, but a colt who is a big one and who's been moving well. I didn't think this is her most impressive recent move. She does get sort of outgamed late in this one, but she's all heart, and I think you'll see that in the price. Explorer is going to be a much shorter price in terms of these Baffert fillies, and Bottle of Rouge loves to run, and she lays it down every time.
Kev, I did look up the workmate. Embry Show, who was fifth on debut out of a good race, Crude Velocity and Civil Liberty, who came back and looked good winning the other day. But I agree with you. I wasn't that impressed with this move. Explorer and Meaning, her moves were much more impressive than Bottle of Rouge.
Michael McCarthy was 1-2 in the Santa Anita Oaks. We saw Meaning. Now we're going to take a look at the runner-up from that race, Brooklyn Blonde, who, interestingly enough, has been racing in Southern California. Second best in the maiden special weight, broke the maiden and then stepped up in the Sticks Company at 10-1 last out and ran second. She's on the outside here, Kevin, and she's heading in the right direction. Speed figures have improved with every start.
Yeah, and I thought she ran a very, very game race in that Santa Anita Oaks and just couldn't quite see out the distance. She's just not as big and strong as her stablemate with Meaning. So what we're going to see here late is kind of the question for me in terms of, is she showing us that she can continue to get more and that she continue to get better? This really didn't adjust my estimation about her. I think Brooklyn Blonde is an outsider looking in terms of winning that Kentucky Oaks.
That's Crazy Cammy to the inside. She's decent. She's, one of my favorites. And I thought Crazy Cammy worked a little better than Brooklyn Blonde. Kevin, you mentioned about her getting a little late in the Santa Anita Oaks. Henny Hughes blood on the bottom. The distance is the big question.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Has to run faster as well. All right, let's take a look at where you can wager on the Kentucky Derby and all races at Churchill Downs and across the country. And we've got some great promotions and contests coming up, and the biggest contest of them all, Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. I think you can beat the best on Derby weekend. Prove it in the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge from Twin Spires. Qualify in an upcoming tournament or bring $5,000 to the table. Bet a $3,500 live bankroll wager across Churchill Downs' biggest races all the way to the Kentucky Derby. Compete for $300,000 in a guaranteed prize money, plus seats to the biggest handicapping tournaments in the game. 7 races minimum, $250 per race, 1 leaderboard, 1 winner. Enter now at twinspires.com. Bet big, win bigger. Terms apply. See the site for details. All right, the designated training period is come to an end here at Churchill Downs. We've got horses that are trickling off the track, and you're going to bet on a lot of these horses. Opening day all the way through Kentucky Derby, and if you bet to win and suffer a tough beat, like it happens to all of us, Twin Spires Bet Pack promotion can provide you some welcome insurance on Derby week. Opt in, receive a bonus bet up to $10 back on the single horse that you wager on if they run second or third. And all the eligible races, got to check those rules for qualifying. The Kentucky Derby is where this promotion will end that day, but it does begin on opening day at Churchill Downs, which is April 25th. So make sure you opt into this when you bet to win, get some insurance on those win bets, and put some bonus bets back into your accounts. All right, saw a lot on the last hour here on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show. We saw, obviously, lots from yesterday, some live stuff from today as well, Tony Kalo, and we'll start with you. We've had 2 days of the show. We've had a lot to digest from the workout perspective. What impressed you the most today?
Well, watching both those California girls work, they were very impressive. Explorer and Meaning. I thought Prom Queen looked very good in her workout as well. So as much as we're learning about the boys for the Kentucky Derby, we're learning as much info on the girls for the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, I mean, Explorer missing that work is something that definitely helped to see, or missing the race, helped to see that work today to restore confidence. We're going to send it to Kevin Kilroy. Lots going on, Kevin. You've seen a lot live. You've seen a lot on tape. What impressed you?
Yeah, I mean, Chip Honcho, I'm trying to figure out what they're thinking about him. I've seen maintenance moves, slower moves. Either they're really just trying to sustain his energy so he does continue to be able to get that distance, or they're just thinking down the line with Preakness. So it's probably a tough call in terms of how they're figuring things out. Right to Party didn't move up in terms of my estimation of him, working with Very Connected. And Oselli, I thought, worked well again. So nothing too flashy today. We'll continue to keep our eyes on the track. Caitlin Benson, what about you?
Well, thanks, Kevin. I'm enjoying the weather. I can definitely say that's something that I have really enjoyed here this morning. I think it's going to cool down just a bit in the coming days. But I really liked watching Wonder Dean School over there in the starting gate. I've got a really good view of that from where I'm at here in the Lucas Gap, and just a really cool, calm customer, like I said. But that starting gate is available for schoolers for the Derby, so it's definitely going to be over there in the chute if you do want to take advantage of that. But Chief Wallaby is a horse that I'm keeping my eye on as he's out on the track. He's a horse that I've always really, really liked. The equipment change change is something that I'm going to kind of have to think on. I want to see him work, obviously, again, one more time, but I've enjoyed what I've seen from him so far on the track, and he's a horse that continues to move up on my list. What about you, Ren?
Well, out here at the Kenny McPeek barn, it has been frenetic energy. Kenny was actually just holding court here after the work of Right to Party. And he was talking about how all he was looking for is this horse to basically 12 clip it along. That's what he's looking for. He says if you can get a horse to go 12s around the track in the Kentucky Derby, you win it. And that's what he was looking for today, and that's what he feels the horse has done. And he's not trying anything complicated. That's what he's going to look to do next week as well. So, yeah, this is part of what this show is all about, watching these horses as they progress, as they get closer to that first Saturday in May. And it's such a gift to be back here witnessing it all. Back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, just a lot happening. Now, we didn't see horses like Commandment, Further Ado, and Full Effort on the track this morning. You know, they
just worked yesterday.
Exactly. So that's what we want to explain to the viewers.
Okay. Yeah.
They likely had a walk day. They, you know, they kind of, I don't want to call it a day off, but
kind of is.
Likely will be back on the racetrack tomorrow.
Just some walking in the shed row. That's what they usually do the day after their workouts. And like you said, a day or two after the works, that's when they come back to the
Major
track.
moves from all of them yesterday.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they're going to put the finishing touches on these horses next weekend. The workouts are going to be a little bit different than what we've seen this weekend.
Well, usually this weekend, they really gear down. They give the big workouts and then a nice maintenance move coming up a week out.
No doubt about it. And speaking about a week out, we've got opening day at Churchill Downs a week from tomorrow. The draw is going to be on Monday. You see the Kentucky Derby starting gate there. We're going to draw the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks on opening day, again 1 week from tomorrow. The Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show rattles on tomorrow morning, same time, same place. It continues through Thurby coming up on April the 30th. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day across Louisville, across the country, anywhere you're watching across the globe. We thank you for joining us this morning. Hope to see you tomorrow.